Welcome. This video provides a description of the Kindergarten Student Entrance Profile, or KSEP, and an overview of the procedures to follow when using it to evaluate the school readiness of entering kindergarten students. You can download KSEP forms, the user guide, and review summaries of research validating its use as a universal school readiness screener. To review, this video will briefly describe what we mean by the term school readiness. We will then describe the content of the KSEP and the procedures to use it. Why is school readiness important and why do we care about it? In a study of early academic achievement of California's students, Russ Rumberger, a researcher from the University of California, Santa Barbara, found that 40% of students' 4th grade English Language Arts Achievement Test scores could be explained by the experiences and skills that the students had the first day that they stepped foot into their kindergarten classrooms. If we are to bolster the academic success of all children, and particularly those who experience lower socioeconomic circumstances, then it is important to recognize the benefits of identifying students' needs as early as possible. In our view, a proactive, preventive approach should include an easy-to-use but evidence-supported universal school readiness screener. This is the purpose of the Kindergarten Student Entrance Profile, or KSEP. In our use of the KSEP, we use teacher ratings to place students into one of 4 groups based on the total KSEP rating. The KSEP item ratings for the immediate follow-up group of students were mostly in the not yet or the lowest rating option. The students in the ready-to-go group were rated as having mastered most items. This chart shows that 59% of the ready-to-go students obtained proficient or advanced scores on their Grade 2 California Standards Assessment Test in English Language Arts. This compared to just 8% of the students who were in the immediate follow-up group. However, we also know that a small group of students overcame the odds. Even with a low KSEP rating at kindergarten, their reading fluency caught up by the end of Grade 2. For this reason, it is important to link the KSEP Universal Screener with the district's early progress monitoring assessment procedures to facilitate targeted and efficient use of assessment resources. A student's readiness for school predicts a smooth transition into kindergarten and later academic achievement. The ability to identify students that may struggle early on in school encourages early intervention. Using the KSEP at kindergarten entry with all students provides an opportunity to gauge the skill level of each entering student and provide additional assistance when needed. It also provides feedback to the community about its efforts to promote positive child development during the preschool years. Before we review the content of the KSEP, let's briefly review what we look for in a child who is ready for school. Now that we have discussed some general ideas about school readiness, and hopefully got you thinking more deeply about this important topic, let's shift the focus to the KSEP instrument and take a look at its contents and its rating rubrics. The KSEP items gather information about the social, emotional, and school-ready or cognitive domains of school readiness. The first portion of the KSEP asks about student identifying information. Please carefully record all information or indicate why it may not have been available. The information about the child's preschool experience, language background, and possible special needs helps to better understand the effects of programs designed to support families during the preschool years. The KSEP items and related rubrics were developed based on the advice of kindergarten teachers and a review of school readiness research. It is important to know that the KSEP items are not intended to assess all aspects of school readiness, as these could not be included in a universal screener. However, the items were carefully selected to provide key indicators of readiness, which in combination provide an estimate of each child's school readiness level. The first core section of the KSEP assesses the social-emotional aspects of school readiness. These are items 1 through 6. For example, Item number 3 asks teachers to observe the child and provide an evaluation of their impulse control. We know from classic research that kindergarten-age children who had the self-control to wait for something that they wanted had significantly higher achievement through high school. Information to rate these items are gathered by observing the student in the classroom setting over time and recording a final rating that best describes the child on each item. When filling out this portion, please refer to the scoring rubrics. Items 7 through 12 were developed to obtain an understanding of the student's cognitive skills, or what we call school-ready knowledge. These items should be rated based on observations of students' behaviors. If a reliable rating cannot be provided based solely on naturalistic observations, some probing may be needed to make ratings, such as for the color and shape items. This can still take place within the normal classroom activities. Children can exhibit their knowledge or skills on any item in any language. The KSEP is not an English language assessment. We like to emphasize that a child does not receive a KSEP score, but is being rated based on the teacher's best professional judgment. What do you have to do to make KSEP ratings? You do not need to directly administer any tests or assessment with the children. You should interact with them and observe them as you normally do each year in the process of getting to know the children and what skills and needs they bring to your classroom. Based on your interactions and observations with each child during the first 3 weeks of school, you will provide your best professional judgment by rating each child on each KSEP item as you refer to the rating rubrics. Forms are provided in the KSEP user guide to facilitate this process if needed. To reiterate, this slide illustrates the process that we recommend teachers engage in when completing the KSEP. Following these steps will provide the best possible ratings of your students. Here is an example of how KSEP item number 1 might be completed. What if a child's shoes are untied? A child would be rated at the mastered level for this item if they clearly communicated that they needed help and specifically indicated that the help was needed to tie their shoes. It is common for students to engage in some writing-related tasks during the first 3 weeks of school. If by the end of the 3-week period they can write their names in a phonologically correct manner, then they would be rated at the mastered level. When using the KSEP, first carefully read the KSEP items and become familiar with the rating rubrics. Keeping the rubrics in mind, base the final ratings on your careful observations of the children in the normal class and schoolyard interactions. In the picture on the left, for example, a teacher is playing a game with the children, and the children are asked to count out the number of cookies that they match with what was rolled on the die. Using this interaction, the teacher can get information about a child's numeracy skills, color recognition, and shape recognition all at the same time. In this interaction, one child answered that they had 5 galletas. Accept answers in all languages or modes of communication as long as it is clear that the child has the knowledge or skill being rated. We want to know the child's developmental level, not their level of English language development. Of course, other district assessments will provide information about language development. To summarize, the KSEP is based on the principle that the best individuals in any community to provide judgments about children's school readiness are kindergarten teachers. Kindergarten teachers have the knowledge of child development, experience observing children's behavior, and the professional expertise and perspective about what each child brings to their kindergarten class. The KSEP depends on the teacher's careful observations of each child completed over 3 weeks. We now take a look at how to complete the KSEP rating form. As shown in this example, the teacher completed all background information for the student Mary Carrillo. Note that Mary had attended a Head Start preschool, but for less than 6 months. Your care in providing this information will increase understanding of the KSEP ratings of children throughout your community. Based on the 3 weeks of observations, Mary's teacher rated her at the mastered level on the excitement Mary showed in her school each day. This would be for item number 5. Most of the other items were rated at the mastered level or almost mastered level. The teacher noted that Mary did not cause disruptions while playing with her peers, but mostly engaged in parallel play. So item number 2 was rated at the emerging level. Mary's rating in the school-ready knowledge areas were also mostly given an almost mastered rating by her teacher. Mary had a strength in that she was observed to identify correctly all 11 colors. However, she expressed herself only with short phrases, so the teacher rated her verbal expressive skills as being at the emerging level. Combining the social-emotional and school-ready knowledge areas, Mary had a total rating of 36, which based on previous KSEP research suggested that she is in the quarterly monitor classification. We encourage you to consider how the KSEP information will be linked with district assessments. Our research has identified 4 groups based on total KSEP ratings. As shown in this diagram, each general KSEP rating classification can be linked to a strategy for follow-up assessment and progress monitoring. The labels we have provided for each group describes the suggested timing of follow-up assessments and progress monitoring. It is based on the principle that academic supports and interventions from kindergarten through grade 2 is the critical time to close the achievement gap. For example, the students in the monthly monitor group had lower KSEP ratings. We suggest keeping track of these students' progress from October through December to see if they make a satisfactory adjustment to kindergarten. And if not, then they may need more intensive supports. The quarterly monitor group, like Mary, had higher KSEP ratings, and it is likely that the district's regular fall, winter, and spring progress monitoring procedure will be sufficient for them. Students with low ratings in the immediate follow-up group are at high risk, and their developmental needs should be evaluated in more depth. Once the KSEP ratings are completed for each child, please follow the local procedures to record these ratings. Thank you for attending and participating in today's training. Please contact UCSB should you have any questions. Our contact information is available from the website.